Osmania, let's get the latest on what the UK government is doing to help those affected by the earthquakes. I'm joined now by the Foreign Office Minister, Andrew Mitchell. Andrew Mitchell, good morning to you and thanks for being with us. Let's get straight into the UK response. We understand that 76 experts have been sent to Turkey. Have they arrived?
No, they're leaving this morning. They'll arrive in daylight today. They were already at Birmingham Airport to leave last night. But the most important early lesson of this is that the first 72 hours are critical, and that means close coordination with the Turkish authorities, who are themselves highly competent. And what we're sending is 76 specialists with the relevant equipment, with 4 sniffer dogs. They will be operating in daylight today under Turkish command, and I know that they're going to make a very big impact when they get there, along with all the other international and coordinated services that are deployed.
And that coordination is important. Is that why they're leaving today rather than last night, to make sure that it's a joined-up effort once they get in country?
That's correct. I mean, it's closely coordinated with the Turkish authorities. This is an appalling catastrophe in Turkey. Turkey, a country that is very close to Britain and which has also been host to hundreds of thousands of refugees, millions of refugees who have gone there. So Gaziantep is a place I visited a few years ago as part of the Syria relief effort. It's a densely populated area, and the calamitous effects of all of this will be quite extraordinary.
Now, these experts that we're sending, Mr. Mitchell, was that sent off our own back, or was this a direct request? Because, of course, as you know the area. Turkey does have expertise in dealing with this kind of disaster.
No, the first thing we did when the news broke yesterday morning was to speak to the Turkish government to find out what we could do to help. We've learnt a lot of lessons since the earthquake in Haiti, where everyone piled in and the thing didn't work well, the coordination was non-existent. So we've learnt that lesson, and we take our lead purely from the Turkish government. We find out what the Turkish government wants, and we do our very best to supply it. And the Turkish government asked for this support, and that's why we are dispatching the 76 experts and the 4 sniffer dogs, and also deploying an emergency medical team to help with the assessment. But I can't stress enough to your viewers that it is the first 72 hours, we're 24 hours plus into that now. It is the first 72 hours when a coordinated response will save the most lives.
And was that a direct call between Rishi Sunak and President Erdogan?
I think it was between the Foreign Office and the relevant authorities in Turkey. But the Prime Minister has expressed very strong support and has promised that Britain will be there by Turkey's side, helping at this appalling time for the Turkish people.
Yeah, you made that very clear, Mr. Mitchell. I appreciate that. I wonder, what more do you think the UK government can do to help?
Well, what the UK government can do is to respond to the needs that the Turkish government set out, and that is what we're going to do. We stand ready. We're in constant contact with their coordinators and organisers, and we stand ready to help in any way that we can.
Do you have any concerns about the amount of aid that we're able to give, considering the fact that the aid budget has been cut recently?
Well, you're right. The aid budget is under very considerable strain, but Britain always carves out a certain amount to cope with humanitarian crises. That is what people in Britain expect us to do. Britain is always there first and in strength to help when these appalling catastrophes take place, and we will be there this time. And the humanitarian budget is in a way slightly separate from the steady state international development budget, and it is there specifically to respond to crises like these.
So this essentially comes from an emergency fund rather than the sort of overarching foreign aid budget that we have?
No, it's all part of the same budget, but there is within that budget different areas of activity, and the humanitarian activity, as we've seen, for example, in the Horn of Africa with the dreadful drought that threatened so many young lives there. The humanitarian budget is very carefully coordinated and set, and it reacts to the need on the ground. You can never tell at the beginning of the year what humanitarian crises are going to take place, and therefore it has to be a flexible part of what we do.
Yeah, and with the scale of this disaster, Mr. Mitchell, and with your calls recently to try and make sure that the aid budget is increased, do you think those calls will be strengthened by what we've seen? I know we're only a day into this disaster.
Well, we are quite deliberately finding ways of boosting the budget. As you say, it was cut back some years ago. It's now at 0.55. It will return to 0.7 when the economic circumstances allow. But we have other ways of sweating what the assets that we use, the money that we deploy. But I want to stress that the humanitarian approach is slightly different because it has to be very elastic because we never know what humanitarian emergencies will emerge during the course of the year.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, Turkey does have infrastructure to deal with this sort of thing, but of course across the border in northwest Syria there is no infrastructure to deal with that. How is the UK going to be helping that region that has been affected?
Well, you're quite right. The area of northern Syria is right in the centre of all of this tragedy. It's ungoverned space. Part of the problem is it's very difficult to get resources that are now needed across the border from Turkey, partly because Turkey's got its own problems, but also because there's only one crossing place. And we hope that the UN will be able to negotiate additional crossing places. We have supported for many years the White Helmets in Syria, which was a civil defence grouping that helped people who were caught up during the Syrian crisis. And Britain funds them, and we will continue to support them. They are active, we know already, in helping with this dreadful crisis, and Britain will continue to support them.
But to be clear, any aid that goes into northwest Syria will have to come through Turkey, through the Cilvagosua crossing border. You're not planning on bringing aid directly into the northwest of Syria?
It's very difficult to get aid in. We will use anything we can to get aid to people who are desperately needed, and we're talking and closely coordinating with the United Nations. But if you look at the geography, the way in is from Turkey. It's over that border, which is very constricted, and that's an additional problem at a desperate time for people who've already suffered so much in northern Syria.
Thank you for that, Mr. Mitchell. I know we don't have much time with you, but I do want to ask you something about domestic politics. Of course, there's a mini reshuffle that's going to be announced in the next few hours. If you were asked to be a chairperson of the party, would you take it?
These are matters way above my pay grade. They're matters for the Prime Minister, but I'm obviously very honoured to be doing the development job in the Foreign Office, and I'm going to get on today and in the days to come focusing on this terrible tragedy in Turkey and Syria.
I appreciate that answer. Not entirely a denial, Mr. Mitchell, I'll take it from you, but thank you very much for your time this morning. Andrew Mitchell there.
Thank you.